Welcome to In My Garden. I'm Hari Berzins, and today we're on a field trip to Fields Edge Farm.
Yay.
And we're here with Kat Johnson, farmer at Fields Edge. And today we're going to talk garlic. Garlic is one of my favorite crops, and this year it's missing from my garden. And there's reasons for that. The main one is that it wasn't keeping for the whole year. I don't know where the issue was, but I thought maybe taking a break, maybe my guess was possibly something in the soil, but I'm sure there could be lots of reasons. But I didn't plant it this year. And so I thought I'd come out and talk with Kat, who has a beautiful garlic crop, and let her share with you the process of garlic.
I'd love to. We've got 13,000 bulbs out there.
Wow.
So we have plenty to share to cover your cooking needs this year.
Awesome. That's good news because there's nothing better than a fresh garlic. I mean, when you get it from the store and you squish it to peel it, there's no juice, But fresh from the garden, there's just nothing better.
Yeah.
So, Kat, can you take us through the process of growing garlic from, putting it in the ground through the whole cycle? And I've grown garlic for several years, so I know the process, but I'm just curious how you would tell that story.
Yeah. So it starts, it's hard to know where to start because you're always either saving, storing, growing, or harvesting garlic continuously. So in the fall is when it would get planted from the bulbs that we saved from the previous July that stored well, that were the most beautiful. And we plant those mid-October to the end of October here in Floyd and get them into beds. And we use different kinds of mulch to keep them warm over the winter. And they just sort of, in the fall, they just put down roots and don't do a lot of growing of green tops. And that's what you want. You want it to just sort of root down, grab onto the soil, and then hang out all winter long. And that way, those roots will keep it from heaving out of the soil when it gets to freezing and thawing. Mm. And in the springtime, February, March, you'll start to see those plants really putting on that green growth. And in springtime, we do a bit of extra fertility. We'll go out there with extra nitrogen sources and seaweed and fish emulsion, either sprayed or fed through the irrigation system. So it grows even more, gets lots of growing. And about this time, as you'll see out in the field, those garlics are waist high, getting pretty mature, just starting to think about bulbing. And they put up a flowering stalk called Escape. And so this time of year, one of the jobs on the farm is to go through, and any variety that's going to flower, we pluck those scapes off, and they're juicy and edible and full of garlicky flavor, and we sell them at market and to customers who make dishes out of them. So that helps it focus its energy on growing the garlic bulb itself instead of trying to create a flower and then go to seed and think about that process. Mm-hmm. So then it finishes bulbing, and we'll keep an eye on the plants to see when they're getting mature, and we're looking for how many yellow leaves are forming from the bottom up on the plant. And we try and pick the garlic when both the bulb is filled out and also the plant still has 4 sets of green leaves left on it. Mm. And the rest can be yellow. But that lets you know that you have enough wrappers, those papery wrappers, on your garlic to keep it stored well through the winter. And those yellow ones will get peeled off or decayed in your cleaning and harvesting process.
And so what are the green ones telling you?
They're telling me that it still has 4 really nice, healthy wrappers that will still be around those cloves. And if all of the leaves were yellow, when you pulled that garlic, you would notice it had already burst apart and the cloves were naked, and they don't store well without that wrapper on them. So that's sort of a a tricky timing thing to get right. And it takes a lot of keeping an eye out on the different varieties because it'll happen at different times for each type.
So you've got the perfect time to take it out and harvest it. And so that next step then is the curing.
Yeah.
And to me, maybe most critical if you want to have it all year. And so I'm curious what you have done and why you decided to change up.
So if you can see, we had all these wires up here in this pole barn, and it's an open air pole barn. And so last year we bundled the garlics into groups of 10 and tied them up and hung them there. But I think that with the dew and that humidity and the rainy week can just come out of nowhere,
Yep.
it was too wet. And so that curing process went for way too many weeks. You can cure too fast, but you can also lengthen that curing time, and that just invites, that warm, moist environment for fungal things, bacterial things to grow and spoil your storage life potential. But there's lots of things that can do that. You're right, it's the soil, it's how fast they mature in the field, depending on our season, how fast it warms up. Different mulching systems will accelerate the growth. And an accelerated growth typically means a shorter shelf life. That slow and steady uptake of nutrients can mean a healthier overall plant that gives you that superb storage ability.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So how long does the curing process go for?
I think if you had the conditions just right, it would be anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks. And we've noticed that with the soft neck varieties, they cure a whole lot faster. And that's probably because the air can get to the center of that bulb and dry out the moistness from the field, from the fresh plant faster. But yeah, that would be a good window of time. And then you're just checking to make sure, you'll cut the stalk and put your hand there and make sure you don't feel any moisture at all to know that that curing process is done.
So the curing is done when that green is completely dried out and turned brown.
Yeah, no green and no moist, cool feeling.
Okay.
Papery and dry. And then at that point, you can, put it in a sack and keep it on your kitchen counter, hopefully for a very long time to use it as you will.
Yes. And when you're curing, have you already separated what you're going to use for next year's seed at that point?
Yeah, sometimes we'll do that ahead of time if we notice when we're harvesting, oh man, this is the most beautiful, healthy plant, put that aside for seed. Or it could happen after the fact, because storage quality is also something you could select for at that point, and save the ones that stayed good the longest as your genetics for replanting the next fall.
Yeah. So much to think about. So it's fun when the scapes start coming out. And a question I always have is, when is the right time to pick them? Here's one that seems like it's just emerging.
Yeah.
And then this one has this curl, almost a whole curl to it.
Yeah.
So do you have a specific time?
So my advice might depend on the variety that you're growing, but removing the scape is something that you do for the garlic bulb, but it's also a delicious byproduct. So you kind of want to maximize your timing with the edible portion in mind. So this one that is long and curly is lots of things that you can chop up and eat.
Yes.
So that's really great. But there are some varieties that when they're just emerging like this one, that you can tug on them and they'll slide out of that sheath and it'll be this blanched portion and it'll be extra tender. So don't be timid. Anytime you remove the scape, you're helping the bulb. But sometimes you'll be able to get that really tender long one, or sometimes you'll want to wait just to see what cool, fantastical shapes they spiral into.
So as long as you get them before they flower,
or before they stiffen up.
Okay.
Because that stiffening will make it so that you're not going to want to eat it because it's so tough at that point. So if it's curling and it hasn't started standing up, then that's good. If you don't get to remove your scapes, you'll still get garlic bulbs. And this actually will bloom and create very miniature garlic cloves on it.
Okay.
And those are called bulbules. And they taste like garlic too, and you can actually seed them in your garden if you wanted to experiment with that. It doesn't make a big garlic bulb next year, but it would be something to observe if you were interested in seeing the whole process all the way through.
Fascinating.
Yeah, I love
And
them.
so what do you do with your garlic scapes in the kitchen?
Well, I sell a lot of them to Big Indian Farm Bakery, and they make garlic scape turmeric bread with locally milled grains. It's pretty darn good. When I take them home, I usually chop them up, put them in eggs or stir fry, or do like a spicy Sichuan green bean type recipe, but use the scapes. People pickle them. They eat them fresh as pesto.
They make good earrings.
We can put them on our earrings.
My kids, when they were little, they would help with the garlic scapes, and I've got some great pictures of them having them hanging around their ears.
Oh,
It's really cute. Yeah.
that's adorable.
We did blending them, kind of like you were saying, a pesto, and just froze them in ice cubes, and then just used them almost like seasoning for any kind of recipe.
Yeah, that garlic flavor.
Yeah.
When do you not want that garlic
Exactly.
flavor?
It's already processed, ready to go. I think it's been a while since I've done that, but I think we added a little oil so that it was like just ready to go.
That's a great thing to do.
Yeah. Fun with
Yeah.
garlic. And so once that scape is harvested, then you're just coming out and watching them
Yeah.
to find the right time to harvest.
Which is typically 2 weeks after they do this.
Oh, okay.
So I make a little note when a variety has scapes to go back and start really looking at them closely in 2 weeks.
So that's the good use of that garden journal. I've been using a journal this year and just making notes of everything I do. And that's so helpful. And I learned that from you guys, farmers who actually have to really keep track. And we can definitely do that as gardeners on our own scale. So yeah, making notes about when you do things is really helpful, isn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah.
And then every year is going to be different, so you can just average them out after decades of growing experience and really have it dialed in.
Yeah, right. So I noticed you've got this plastic around the bulbs, and can you tell us about what that's doing for you?
Yeah, in the fall, after we put down fertilizer, I'll come with the tractor and I'll make these raised beds and they also get covered with this plastic, which happens to be like a biodegradable plastic product. So it should get eaten by the soil microbes and decay. It's not a true poly product. But what's great about that is we can plant the cloves directly through the plastic and hopefully not have weeds come up right there. So the garlic really doesn't like the competition of weeds. And because our winters in Floyd aren't that intense, they don't need a lot of insulation. You know, typically you're planting garlic in your home garden with a layer of straw mulch on top to block the weeds and also insulate from the winter. But here, without an insulating layer, they do just fine.
Okay. And so you put this plastic down and actually press the bulbs through it directly
Yes.
with just with the pressure of the clove.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That helps. I mean, I can't imagine trying to keep this weed free otherwise.
Yeah, well, we did weed it to get ready for you guys.
Did you? That's a lot of work.
And for the garlic's needs too. But because most of it was covered, it only took about 5 hours of us working out here, all of us.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I see what you mean. Like, this is another variety over here. It's still looking mostly green.
Yeah.
These are starting to yellow, coming through.
lots of different sizes, different shapes of leaves. Like these looks like witches' brooms,
Yeah.
and these ones have lots and lots of layers of green leaves. And each of those layers corresponds to that bulb wrapper on the bulb. So these tend to be my favorite varieties, are the ones that create lots of layers. And
And that's because they'll keep better.
yeah, that's my intuition is telling me that.
Yeah, that makes sense to me too. So when you go in, when it's time to actually harvest, 2 weeks from now, because you're taking the escapes in this time frame,
Yeah.
and let's say it's time, how do you do that? Like, are you concerned about getting them right out of the sun, or do you let them stay in the sun after you pull them out? Like, how does that work?
We like to pull a whole bed in the morning when it is cooler and get them into the shade for further processing, just because that the sun will sort of dry out those outer skins really fast, and you don't really want them to crack or burst or just have excessive heat trapped in them. So morning is usually when we try and get those done.
So you're pulling them out and taking them right into the shade.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's better for the workers too, because then we're not out here sweating and getting
Right.
sunburnt
Yeah.
more than we already do.
Exactly. Yeah. So one bed a day is kind of a sort of a
We'll do it as they are mature. So
Okay.
if a whole variety is ready and it's, 5,000 bulbs, we'll just pull. And me and my employee Tanya, we figured out last year that we can do like 6,000 bulbs in an hour with her and I just pulling them.
So you're just gonna pull them. You're not digging them up with a fork or anything.
It differs from variety. Again, some of them have such strong root systems that when you pull, you're just going to break the top off and not get it.
Yeah.
But others are more shallow rooted. We do have a tool that's going to undercut them to just make all that extra work a little easier.
So you undercut them first, and then
Yeah.
you come through and see how easy they are to come out.
Yeah.
And then if they're not coming out, what tool do you use to just get them? A digging fork?
Yeah, a digging fork. Any stubborn ones can get pulled that way.
Yeah. And so the tool initially, is that something with a tractor?
Yeah, we'll straddle the bed with the tractor and sort of drag a blade under the roots
Okay.
far enough down that it's not cutting the bulb itself, but it just makes it so you're just picking them up off the soil and shaking a little dirt off.
Yeah.
We do have some varieties that are ready if you want me to show you what it looks like to pull them.
Yeah, let's do it. I can get in there too.
Cool. We can go up to the top beds. It's the elephant garlic.
All right.
And
Elephant garlic is something I've heard of. It's more of a mild flavor. Is
Yeah.
that right?
I mean, I still think it's pretty spicy and pretty garlicky. Yeah, we'll try and pick out the big ones and go, wow. My technique with the garlic, if I don't have it undercut, is to do 5 small tugs. And it usually works better than one big, powerful tug.
That
So
way you
I'll-
might not break it.
I'll do like that,
Wow, look at that one.
and it'll come out.
So what's going on
easily.
here when they have these little babies?
Yeah, that's an interesting thing that'll happen. So this is also called a bulbule, but elephant garlic makes it here. Other kinds of garlic will make them here, and then others still will make them on the scape. So just different allium evolutions happening, and those you can pickle them or eat them, and they
They
taste
just-
like a tiny little garlic bulb. But yeah, so that's one elephant garlic. Do you want to try pulling one?
Sure. Which one should I go for?
Whichever one looks good. I think that they're all mature at this point because you can tell it has 1, 2, 3, 4 green leaves, and the rest below that are yellowing.
Okay.
So that's kind of the ideal timing for these guys.
So let's see. Let's try this one. Oh,
Oh yeah.
oh. You have to sing a song.
The garlic salt.
And there's your little, what do you call them?
Bulbules.
Bulbules.
And you were so nice and gentle with it. That's part of the process too, is that you never want to shake or manhandle your garlic because that can cause wounds that'll jeopardize it in storage too.
Yeah, like pulling it out and just tossing it.
Yeah. No, you never
Whenever
want to hear
I
your
see
vegetables
that, I'm
make
like,
a sound.
no, don't bruise it. No, no tossing. Yeah. And then when you're, to get them clean, is it just like, do you leave the dirt on and then till later? Or?
I like to do as much cleaning now as possible because when these leaves are fresh and moist, they're a lot easier to remove. So I'll just take that fresh leaf and pull down, and that'll remove most of the dirt, just like that. And that way, wherever I'm going to curate is going to stay that much cleaner because I'm not just bringing the whole field inside. And it doesn't get stained. You know, depending on the soil in your garden, you might have that red clay, which is going to
Yes.
stain those outer layers. So it's just that much more vibrant, white, and clean.
So say right here, like, would you still pull this layer down too?
Yeah, what I would use as a rule of thumb is make sure you still have 3 wrappers on your bulb.
Okay.
If you're tempted to remove that one and you'll still have 3 left over, go for it.
I don't know if it's gonna get the dirt. Oh, I got it.
Ooh, that's satisfying, isn't it?
Yes, now it's clean. So my very first year growing garlic, I did something that you really shouldn't do, of course.
What did you
Many
do?
things, I'm sure. I washed it with a hose.
You know, that's not the worst thing to do.
No?
Usually we'll wait till the soil's dry and we have a dry week to do the picking and then not get it wet. But I've, read studies of people doing that and testing the storage ability. And as long as it wasn't damp for a really long time in the curing process, it worked out.
Okay.
But yeah, not typically
No,
recommended.
because, you're trying to dry it out, right? Of course, I just thought I wanted it clean, so this is a much more effective way. But yeah, I was like later looking at it, I'm like, oh, I just dumped tons of water on that when I'm trying to dry it out. So it's so funny, the things we do. Actually, the funniest thing, this is a story that people are tired of hearing about from me, but my first year planting garlic, I took the clove and put the pointy end down.
Oh no.
So I planted it upside down. And so it came up like, I had these beautiful little hangers.
Yeah, maybe that was handy.
That was the only good part because they stayed really small and it took forever to emerge. But they did find their way up, which was amazing. But yeah, you definitely want to plant this side down.
Yes. Yeah, I've even seen the roots pin the head down because it was planted upside down. So it gets pinned in the ground. And it just can't get out of that little jail.
Yeah, but that's the thing. There are just so many little things to know that, sometimes you have to learn the hard way. But
Yeah.
I was wondering, I saw your pictures of the garlic on Instagram last year, and I was like,
Yeah.
how does she get them so clean?
Yeah, this is the secret.
Such a great trick.
And when the roots dry out, they get so tough that you can't really cut them unless you have really super sharp snips. So even if you want to trim the roots now too, they're
So
that
the
much
roots
easier.
don't need to stay on for the curing?
They don't have to.
Doesn't really do anything for it?
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, if you think about it, the root is designed to pull moisture into the bulb because
Yeah.
that's its function when it's growing. So if you cut those off, you might have more luck of drying it out faster.
Uh-huh. So you do cut them? So you would take them all in, take the layers off to clean
Yeah.
it, and then trim this down?
Yeah.
And then hang them?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah. Do you want to clean one with me?
Yeah.
We can share the snips I have.
Okay.
So usually we just pulled the bulb,
Yeah.
and then I'll find the first green leaf. Yeah. And then pull downward to remove that. And that should get a pretty clean bulb.
Oh, this is something that I see sometimes, and this is maybe what you were talking about, where it's starting to split.
Yeah,
And
with
so, go ahead.
yeah, with this variety, it has especially fragile wrappers that just like to tear open. And this is elephant garlic, so it's not true garlic, so it's a little bit different than a typical garlic bulb, which is less prone to doing that. But yeah, you want them to be complete, ideally.
And so these would be the ones you eat first.
Yeah. So I trim those roots, and then I'm going to trim the top to about 10 inches. And then this is what will go on a drying rack in the climate-controlled room with fans blowing on it
For 2 to 4 weeks.
for 2 to 4 weeks, or however long it takes. You don't want to accidentally still have moisture in your bulb when you finish that process.
And is this the first year you're doing this cutting here?
It is the first year I've done it, and I'm going off of, other people's experiments to tell me it might be a good idea.
Are you pulling these, what are they called again?
Bulbules?
Bulbules. I've got a block. Bulbule.
Yeah, you can pull them off, and sometimes they're under the layers. So
Oh,
that
look at
one
that,
is
yeah.
got a little baby under there.
Now, how close is too close? Did I go too close?
That'll be just fine. That's the European way of doing it. And then most of the time you'll see American garlic farmers leaving a little bit of that more natural look. I think it mostly comes down to the look.
But
more
like
than
you
anything.
said, you've still got like the soil there that could absorb moisture and also a little bit of that root.
Yeah. So definitely worthy of experimentation. And then check this out. This is one of them that I opened up, and this is the clove inside. That's how big it is. It was just a single clove in that elephant bowl.
So are these all just single? No.
No, some of them are broken up into
Yeah.
different cloves like a regular garlic would
So
be.
this is 1 clove of elephant garlic.
Crazy.
I mean, that's a whole bulb of a different variety.
I know. It's a lot less peeling, and we like the elephant garlic
smells
for
really good.
turning into the black garlic products that we make. It's especially sweet once it turns black.
Black garlic is something I was curious about actually. Do you
Yeah.
want, is this a good time to talk about that?
Sure. I don't have any.
You don't have any. Oh, look, here's another one she cut open. It's also elephant garlic, this?
That's German white. That's a real garlic.
Oh, okay. So you can see that these are each cloves there versus the elephant garlic. It's bigger than the whole thing. But it's a more mild flavor.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Not as spicy as some of the others.
And so when you're doing the black garlic, I had never heard of that until you started doing it. And so I actually have never tasted it either.
Ooh. It's really strange and interesting and delicious. So we grow, all these garlic varieties, white garlic, spicy, hot flavors. But then when we take it to the farm kitchen, we put it through a special oven, special conditions for 12 days on end. And the garlic sugars, they sort of caramelize and all that heat goes away. And you end up with a clove of garlic that's now jet black, gooey like a jelly bean, tastes like dried fruit.
Wow.
So strange and wonderful. You can put it in desserts, you could put it with savory dishes. It's really strange and wonderful. It's kind of like a culinary marvel.
And you're just at a low temperature for 12 days?
Yeah, very low temperature, very high humidity, and it has to be just right. We've had a lot of, bad batches. It has to be just perfect for that whole time for it to work out right.
And then are you selling the whole bulb as black garlic, like the whole thing, or are you separating it, or how does that work?
Yeah, we've done both, where we've peeled them or we've just sold the whole bulb so that people can take it home and open it up and see all the black cloves in there.
And so that creating the black garlic happens after the curing?
Yes, has
Okay.
to be.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Fascinating. And where is this a new thing in the garlic world, or is it old?
There's some controversy about that, whether or not it's like an ancient technique or if it's a new phenomenon. So I
Don't
can't tell
know.
you with any certainty.
Mm-hmm. So much. And, you think you've done it all with garlic, but no, there's more. So there is our bundle of scapes, available at the Floyd Farmers Market, unless Big Indian gets them all first, which is likely. Then you'll have to buy the Big Indian turmeric.
Turmeric scape bread.
Turmeric scape bread sounds delicious. Yeah, I love holding up a handful of scapes.
They're so wild. They're beautiful.
They are.
Are they stinky?
Not stinky. I mean, to me, I love the smell. It's very beautiful. They smell garlicky.
Nice.
The flour is not, like, we just use it up to here usually. Is that how you do?
That's what I do too, yeah.
Yeah. This year I ended up, I didn't plant any garlic, but I have, I missed a bulb last year, so the whole thing grew.
Ooh.
So I've got, a clump of garlic, so I'm curious to see what that's going to look like.
If they're going to try and form little tiny bulbs with the individual things.
Will it be 5 bulbs right next to each other, or no clue. But I left it, and it'll be fun to see. So I have, 5 scapes.
Ooh.
Yes. I brought one in, and Carl says, I didn't think we grew garlic this year. I was like, we didn't. But volunteers
It grew
are always
itself.
fun. Yeah.
So have you heard the saying that garlic is as good as 10 mothers?
No,
No.
I have not heard that.
Would you like to have 10 mothers? Keep you healthy, keep you well fed.
Yes, I would.
Would you like to have 13,000 mothers?
It depends.
Usually one's enough, but garlic, yes, you can never have too many.
You can never have too much garlic. This is a beautiful crop of garlic, and I hope it cures perfectly, and the black garlic does its thing perfectly, and the seeds are perfect, and the next year's crop is perfect. And it just keeps going, right?
Yeah.
That's what I hope for your.
Well, thank you for that blessing.
Yes.
I hope it does.
Yay.
We'll try our best. I'm Kat Johnson. This is Fields Edge Farm. We grow garlic, among other things, fresh vegetables, and grass-fed beef. And you can find our products locally at the Floyd Farmers Market, or even order online for a contact-free pickup there. We also do shipping around the country, and we hope to share some of the harvest with you.